to Florida, because everybody knows we went to Florida, what, since I've been 3 years old, every year at least twice, okay? Instead of going to Florida on one of our school breaks, we ventured out to California and went to Disneyland, okay? Now you might ask why, when we went to Florida all the time, why would we go all the way out to Disneyland and not go to Disney World? Well, for some of you, this was way before Disney World was even on the map at all, okay? So while visiting the park, even though I was 10 or 11, I quickly learned the ins and outs of Disney, like how to take the monorail from the hotel down to the park, right? And the parade down Main Street, all those things. And then the biggest thing that I learned while I was there was that the best rides were on the e-tickets, right? Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
E-tickets were the best rides, right? C tickets were, they were okay. And then the A tickets were just like really duds, like that Abraham Lincoln exhibit. You guys remember that? Okay. So I learned that really quickly. And of course, no visit to Disney World would be complete without the original, you know, felt Mickey Mouse ears, right? And of course I had my name embroidered in the back, and I thought it was really cool at 10 or 11, okay? So, you know, we did the whole thing. So we went on all the great rides. We went on the Haunted House. We went on the Pirates of the Caribbean, which happened to be Mom's favorite. She still talks about that little pirate that was sitting up on the bridge with his, right, Mom, with his hand hanging over, drinking the beer, right? Okay. And so we went on all those rides, the teacup, the saucers, and even Small World, which at the time was my favorite.
Oh, God.
Okay, right? And it was really fun seeing Mickey Mouse, Minnie, Donald, Goofy, Snow White. What more could a 10-year-old ask for, right? But the very next day, we were headed to the future, to Tomorrowland. Do you guys remember Tomorrowland?
Yeah.
Okay. As we stood in line at the Monsanto ride, I remember asking, what letter ticket is this ride? Because I didn't see what the letter was. I wanted to know if I was in for a good time or not. I was told there was no ticket for this ride. It was a free exhibit. So that should have been my first clue. Okay, that's different, but I thought, I'll go along with the program, because did I really have a choice, right? So as we stood in line and we got closer and closer to the front, I looked around and I didn't see Mickey and I didn't see Minnie, and all my little Disney friends had just like ran away from me. They weren't around. And at the same time, I saw some kind of poster up on the wall of the exhibit, and it had a microscope and it had atoms breaking up and all kinds of stuff that a 10-year-old was definitely not interested in, or did I understand it. So as I approach the front of the line, I see the people in front of us getting into these little blue cars. They kind of looked like Fred Flintstone cars, but they were blue. And the next thing I know, they're going into this black hole, this tunnel, okay? And all you see the cars going in, and you see them being black. After that, they go in here, and then I see this clear tube, like a lucite tube, miniaturized. The little people, the adult people that were going in these cars into this black tunnel are now this big, okay? And they're in the same cars that I'm about to get into. Well, I might have been 10 or 11 years old, but I was sure smart enough to put 2 and 2 together, right? And I figured, if I go on this ride, I'm going to get shrunk. I am going to be this big, I'm going to be miniaturized, and this is all before Land of the Giants or Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. So I did what a normal 10 or 11-year-old would do. What did I do? I started crying, okay? And I didn't want to tell anybody how fearful I was. So Dad came over to me and asked me what was wrong. Somehow between my tears, I was able to tell him that I didn't want to be shrunk. Dad did not even laugh at me. He looked at me and said, "Do you trust me?" I couldn't speak. I nodded my head yes, and the next thing I knew, Danny and Mom went right into the car in front of us, and Dad literally pushed me into that car, okay? Here I was on my way to being shrunk, but I had my dad by my side, which then made matters worse because I kept thinking, well, wait a second, Mom and Danny are in the car in front of me, and I'm in the car with Dad. Oh my gosh, my whole family's going to get shrunk, not just me. So we entered the ride, and it was pitch black. The next thing I saw through my tears were snowflakes that were huge. Of course they were huge because they were like 1,000,000 times bigger, because now I was this big and the snowflakes were that big, okay? And it was very, very scary. Now it was time for Dad to have a little bit of fun with me, and he kept saying, "Laura, have you shrunk yet? Laura, have you shrunk yet? Do you feel smaller, Laura?" And I kept saying, "Dad, Dad," and I hear Danny in the car in front of me asking me the same questions. So when I realized that I hadn't shrunk, and thank goodness neither had anybody else, I just started laughing uncontrollably and enjoyed the ride. I learned 3 valuable lessons that day. One was it was okay to face my fears. Number 2 was Father knows best. And number 3 was trust my dad. And Dad, this is thanks to the internet, okay? This is a sample of the poster that was outside of the exhibit from Monsanto at the time there. It's amazing the things you can find.
Thank you. Between this and this, I should get about $100.
No, this is.
And now,